So what are you doing, Tim?
Antifreeze.
You're doing what?
Antifreeze.
In what?
Sprayers.
Winterizing the sprayers. All right, so we're gonna winterize the sprayers. At least Tim and Cody are. That don't look good. I knew that I had broke that. That sucker's shot. Yeah, that one's shot. You just kind of do that, and then you put this back in here. Where'd that come from? Okay. Somebody's calling me. I gotta answer. All right. I think my battery's getting low. Yeah, a few things going on. I got them running RV antifreeze into the sprayer. They did the first one. I did some work this morning that is needed to be done. I'm going to tell you a little secret here. Not really a secret, but I welded new points onto this thing for two reasons. One, I don't have new points to put on. Two, why not? And three, I called Brilliant or John Deere. It was actually John Deere. My John Deere dealer is also the Brilliant dealer. And I called them, and they said that they didn't have the points in stock. I would have just sent Teresa out to get these points. And they said, well, we don't have them in stock, and we're not going to have them in stock. You can order them, and it'll be a while before you get them. I was like, well, all right. Okay. When am I going to get these things? And I have to grease Timothy. Timothy missed a spot there. Anyway, when am I going to get these things? And they're like, well, we don't know. We'll call you when they get here. Well, how much are they? They're $139 a point. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? $139 per point? What the hell is going on here? Fresh battery. Anyway, so what I did was I called. I had called them, and they gave me this astronomical price at Deer Country in Allentown that came directly from Brilliant. Brilliant is no longer Brilliant, it's Landall. They got bought by Landall. Anyway, $139 a point seemed like an awful lot. I thought I had saw it on a Shoop catalog for like 39 bucks. So anyways, long story short, I go to Shoop. Shoop has this exact point. No case hardening, no chrome, nothing, for 32 bucks. 32 bucks a piece. Okay, I can live with that. So $32 a piece. I ordered 10 of them. All right, so I ordered 10, and then I looked down the list a little bit farther, and for $52 I can get the same point with a hard surfaced boot, hard surfaced welded chromium boot that goes on the point. And so I bought 5 of those for 52 bucks a piece. Okay, so that's good. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Trust me on this one. I wasn't about to pay Brilliant prices. Yes, the other thing is these bolts are grade 8s. These are supposed to be grade 8s. They had grade 5s in them. I've broken both the top and the bottom on all of them. I believe all of them. Yep, every single one of them. Broke them both. And I can't get them tight enough. So what I ended up doing was going to another place and getting fine threaded ones. But what I'm going to do right now is actually pull this nut off, put a washer on, and then super tighten it with a breaker bar so that's really tight. Being tight is key. This washer here slides in through here. It is actually a friction disc, and this one too, and they do loosen up, so I'm going to have to do something. I got a jam nut or something I'll put on there. You know, they're only 3/4, and if they get loose, then it breaks. They break very easily. So this one here is going to break very easily. This one here is not, but it's going to break very easily if I don't get that tightened up, because I can see a gap there. But anyways, that's the deal here. The other thing was that this used to be a 4-shank. You can see it was a 1, 2, 3, 4. And when Glenn LeDuc bought this, he wanted a 5-shank. So they added a wing on the outer side here. They had to add that wing in order to get this to be a 5 shank. It just wouldn't be a 5 shank without that. There wasn't enough room. So he made it a 5 shank, added the wings, made it a 5 shank. Life is good. I really wish this was an automatic reset, but it's not. So whatever, it's okay. I'm not gonna complain too bad. If I continue on a large ripping capacity, I will take these units off and I will put 5 automatic reset ones on, and you can get them anywhere. It doesn't even have to be a Brilliant. It's just got to fit this 6x5 6x4 or 6x5. Looks like 6x4.5 or 6x5. It's 6x5 toolbar, and that'll be just fine. And I'd be okay with automatic resets then. It would just make my job a lot easier and faster than what I'm doing right now. I would just be wearing out points instead of busting bolts. And that may be something for the future if this works out pretty good. Anyways, I'm going to shut up now. Okay, so I broke a shear bolt. That's all that had happened there, and I had to change it. All right, so I just kind of want to explain how these things work. We used one of these a long time ago, but it was a single shank ripper, so you didn't see what you guys are fortunate enough to see here. All right, so what is going on is I am pulling this ripper through the ground. It's somewhere around 15 inches deep. For the most part, this is about the depth you want to go. It's hard for me to go any deeper than that because there's rocks down there. There's a lot of rocks down there. I kind of wish this was an automatic reset model. But you know what? If wishes were whatever, yeah. Anyway, wishing doesn't do anything. So what you're seeing here is, I'm hoping you can notice this, or you notice this. As this thing is pulled through the ground, it is raising, it is lifting the entire 32-inch piece of dirt between the two shanks. When it is compacted, like really bad, the tractor doesn't care, but because it's like 374 horsepower, but you can see it looks like a wave going behind this or between those rows. It just raises it up and drops it down. So basically what this is doing is it's fracturing the soil, and you can see the compaction here is pretty bad because it is raising and lowering it. You're not getting that chisel plowing effect going on so much. That chisel plowing effect is in areas where the soil is not compacted too well, or the stones raise it up out of the dirt a little bit, and that does happen. But for the most part, these, like that right there, that's rocks. Rocks did that. But when you see the stalks kind of just move inward and nothing in the center of that moves, I would either need to go deeper, which I'm not able to do, or there's not nearly as much compaction there. So the whole point in breaking compaction is to allow the soil to permeate water, oxygenate the soil, and allow microbes and fungus and earthworms to move a little more freely through the soil at this point in time. When springtime comes, I often wondered about earthworms. It must just move right out of the frost depth of the soil profile. This is also going to allow the frost to go deeper because there's airways and pathways for the cold to actually permeate through. So as I do this job, I find out a lot about what's going on deep in my soil. And what I have found out, and you can see right here, it's just a wave. It's raising and dropping, and then you get spots where it just kind of curls it over. I'm okay with the operations going on here right now anyway. I think that it's doing a good job. Now, so what I'm finding out is that where my corn went down this fall is where the compaction was the worst. I've really bought this thing to improve what I can do on these farms, not realizing that my compaction problems were going to be as bad as they are. I mean, I knew they could be bad or could be a problem because of years of running those heavy balers on this ground. And this is clay soil. It's not sandy, it's clay, and red clay for that matter. But it's got stones and stuff in it. And it seems to me that where there's heavy stones, the compaction is not a problem. I really don't have any problems with the corn going down in the areas where the stones were, for the most part, because I think that it's aggregate, and water is porous. It's porous, and the water can filtrate down and through that stone. So I am moving at about 5 miles per hour. I had it set for 5.2, and of course the tractor with the slip on the wheels, it was moving around like 5, 4.8, 4.9, 5 miles per hour. Here you'll see that I slowed down for the rocks. I don't really want to go very fast around the rocks, and you can see that it's heaving those rocks. Then when you get down past that rocky ridge, and you'll see it's just a big old wave as it goes through the soil, fracturing as it goes, breaking up that deep compaction. So once I get that compaction completely shattered, it shattered through between 32 inches of shank there, that will allow roots to go down along those fractures when I get it planted, whether it's corn or soybeans, and it will just allow water to come up and go down. It'll allow nutrients to travel more freely through the soil. It'll allow the roots to grow more freely and do their job by picking up the nutrients that are moving more freely through the soil. I will be putting about a ton of lime to the acre on this ground, and over on the other farms that I have, I will also be putting at least a ton of lime, along with the compost that I'm getting from the mushroom growers. The slits in these that I'm creating here are actually going to be pathways for those nutrients to make their way down into the soil, nutrients, microbes, and calcium to make their way down through the soil profile into the root zone and actually work a little better. I will not be chisel plowing this spring. Any place that I am doing this particular job, I will not need to do any chisel plowing. I should be able to just take the disc and go over it at that 4 or 6 inch level and till that top soil. I don't have the money right now for a vertical tillage machine. I just don't, and I don't feel that I need to spend that amount of money right now, even though a true vertical tillage machine
would really do a super, super nice job in the spring. So that all that would do is work the compost in to 2 to 3 inches that I want it at, and make a really nice seed bed, a low impact seed bed, and you know, keep that compaction layer, the disc compaction or smear. See, a disc actually, if you watch how a disc works, it actually smears underneath. And in clay soil, that smear is called disc layer compaction. It will actually cause that hard pan, a slight hard pan. But with the ripper, I don't think I'm going to have any issues with that this year. So I'm not really concerned about I'm not really concerned about that. Those roots should have no problem going down, and with the added microbial activity, beneficial fungal activity from the compost that I'm putting down, and this residue that is making its way into the soil, is slightly making its way into the soil, but in the spring it'll definitely put that residue in the soil where it belongs, where a nice fresh coat of compost worked into that 4 inch. I wanted it about 4 inches. It's all the deeper I want to go, for the simple reason is I want that compost to be right at that level, and the microbes will take off, and fungus will take off there, and earthworms will come up from the deep and actually start to break that down and releasing the fertilizer that is necessary, with or the compost. It will break down that compost and release the nutrients that are in there. I will be putting nitrogen down, so don't think I'm not going to use commercial fertilizers. I'm definitely going to use commercial fertilizers, but I'm going to use it, in accordance with what I'm looking to grow. It takes nitrogen to make microbes work. That's why I say do not use nitrogen stabilization, traditional chemical nitrogen stabilization, because it is a microbicide which kills the microbes that work in the soil to release the nutrients from your organic matter, actually breaking down corn stalks, soybean stubble, wheat stubble, whatever stubble you've got there. And so when you're killing these microbes, you're really on the path of destruction, and that IV known as 100% commercial fertilizers. I never ever thought that I would say this, but there's needs for the commercial fertilizers, but the needs are not as necessary as you think to grow a reasonable crop. Because there is this law of diminishing return. Maximum that we're going to grow on this soil is an average of 200 bushels to the acre. I had problems reaching that goal. I didn't get there. My corn average somewhere, I think I've got it figured at about 190, between 100, I think 193 or 197. I did the math a couple of times, and let's just say it was 190 bushels to the acre. Not a bad yield for this soil and the conditions that we have. And my biggest problem was actually the population and this compaction. So I am addressing both of these problems this coming year. And hopefully it's no longer a problem by the end of this year. And, and I will also be learning a lot about other things as I go through this journey known as agriculture. And it is a journey. I also believe that let me think here. It's the variety choices that I'm going to make are going to be a little different than what I've made in the past couple of years, just for the simple reason my markets have changed. The corn fodder market dried up, and unless wheat doesn't produce straw, they're going to continue to use wheat as a carbon source for their mushrooms. And when they're done with their mushrooms, I get to spend. I put it on here. I'm adding a lot of carbon to the soil, and you just got to get those carbon levels up so that everything can just grow in a symbionce, from microbes and beneficial funguses, to the earthworm activity, to the decay of the residue that I'm putting down there. But I find this very, watching this machine do its job, and I just find it very soothing to watch it raise and drop. And you can see, like, there's areas that seem like they're just folding in at the sides like a chisel plow would, and then you'll come to an area where it becomes a wave. And I am actually going across the rows of corn that I planted, so there's it's traffic compaction from the balers, it's from the sprayer, it's from the corn planter, the tractors, the combine, the grain carts, all this stuff. And I just find it really soothing to watch this operation take place as it lifts and drops. And when I start doing hay, I'm going to do another video like this, because when I start doing hay, you're going to see a really big difference in the in what the land does, because there's not that residue that's blocking your view. So I'm on the path to a more productive soil profile. The soil profile is basically that layer of soil that goes down to the 2-foot level. What goes on in that upper 2 feet before you get to whatever's below 2 feet, the subsoil, or 15 inches to the subsoil. Here, that profile is what we're trying to change. We're trying to make that so that all the nutrients that I've put on here over the years, and what is naturally in the soil, and what the what is breaking down from plants and the activities of the flora and fauna of the soil, that's what I'm trying to change, to actually reduce the cost of my fertilizer inputs and maintain profitability in the crops that we grow. The more profitable that I am in this business, the better off my family will be. It just, because I get grumpy when I'm short on money. It's just a fact. I'm kind of grumpy now because the mushroom barns are screwing me on timeliness of paying, and the actual dockage that they're hitting me with on a daily basis. Every day I go down there to the one mushroom barn. It doesn't matter if that hay is out from under a tarp or whether it just got rained on. I'm getting docked for some percentage or not, and that is getting kind of old. So my thought process is to reduce the dependency upon those companies for my income, to pay everybody and everyone that I buy products from. Whether it be John Deere, Brilliant, New Holland, or whatever manufacturers I'm using, Lincoln Welders or whatever. I'm not buying Lincoln Welders. I'm actually in the process of shopping for new welder, an engine-driven Trailblazer 325 by Miller, and a wire feed welder that will run off of that Trailblazer, or any power source, 120 or 230, 240 power source. It's very portable, and I can take it anywhere. Run it off a generator if I have to, or run it off the welder that I'm going to be purchasing. It's time. And I don't want to buy a Bobcat by Miller. Not that they're bad, they're just noisy. The Trailblazer's a much better one, and it's the high-end one where it doesn't need to rev up the engine to produce the power that I need. It doesn't, so that's a very important thing. And it has that little remote control that I can adjust everything from the work piece that I'm working on out in the field or in the shop or whatever. So anyhow, those are the plans that I have. I hope you found this informative, and maybe some of my terminology or my perception of the way what is going on here might be a little bit inaccurate. I wouldn't say inaccurate, but maybe just different than what you have heard or have seen. But I would like to add that everyone's soil type is different. I mean, I can go 5 miles to the north of us and find soil that is very abrasive and will wear the points out on this thing in such record time you wouldn't even believe how expensive it is to work, but it's generally a better soil. But you can go south of me by 2 miles and find that you're in pottery clay, like way worse than anything that I've got here. And that's the end of the video, that footage that I have, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to actually add in here a little bit, and we can keep right on going, because, you know, I just think it's awesome to see the ripper in action. I know I'm talking a lot, and you guys really are probably sick and tired of listening to me, but I just hope that everyone takes the steps to, you know, to make a crop that is profitable, instead of just doing the, well, I've got to go down to FS, or I've got to go to Nutrien, and I've got to buy this expensive fertilizer because that's the way the world works. Well, there are alternatives, and I will add this. I am not new to this type of farming. We used to get human waste. It was lime stabilized human waste at first, and those were probably the best cropping years of my life. In the late 90s, we had 2 years of severe drought. And when I say severe drought, I'm telling you, buddy, we had drought so bad that nobody made a crop. But we still had corn, you know, we still had corn and soybeans, and, you know, we still harvested something, had more than enough to feed the cows and whatever we were doing. But, of course, we'd never addressed compaction issues like this, and there were fields that actually produced better than others, not because there was more rain there or not. It's just because they were different soil types, and the root masses could get down to where the water was. And I'm expecting a dry year this coming year. That's another reason why I'm doing this particular operation, because it'll wet up the dry spots and dry out the wet spots. But as far as these organic compounds that I'm putting on, they've changed. They went from a human waste factor to a spent mushroom soil, and that will hold moisture as well, and keep that plant healthy, and keep those roots moving, and keep everything that's down deep coming to the surface for that food source. If you have dead soil, there's no food source, and there's nothing to eat it anyway. So you're going to have this hard soil that really, without the right amount of rainfall or a steady amount of rainfall, your crop is not going to grow like it should in dry weather. And I did have somebody say, so if what you're saying is true about no-till, then why are tilling and no-till? There's benefits to both. It's all soil type, and I never had, with corn we had better luck with no-till than we did with soybeans. And I do believe that the soybeans hit that disc layer, that disc compaction layer, and it just wasn't a good mix. So we'll see, because I'm going to put soybeans on this ground. I'm pretty sure I am. I want to have at least 300 acres of soybeans this coming year. I've pretty much made up my mind that that's what I want to do. My dad thinks that's too much, but he's like, well, you do 300 acres of soybeans and 600 acres of corn, you're looking at 900 acres to get over with a combine. I says, well, 2 combines, because I'm going to buy another combine. And I'll put a bean head on one, and have the corn, and when the corn gets ready for the other, then I will hit the corn, or I'll just put the bean head on, or the grain platform on, you know, and get the beans off before I ever touch corn. And the beans will just go directly to the mill, and the corn will come off and go to the mill. But yeah, I mean, when you look at 600 acres of corn, if we could get 190 bushel to the acre yield, like I did this year, if I do that, or I get, just say 200, I mean, there's 120,000 bushels of corn. I don't have enough bin storage to store but 1/3, 1/4, less than 1/4 of that. So it's either I build a new bin, which I have been talking to my wife and myself. I do talk to myself quite often, obviously. I've been talking myself into adding 3 bands on the bin that I have, and going up 3 rings. Well, 3 rings will increase my bin to let's see. There's 9 rings on it now, so if I add 3, that'd be 12. So it'll add a third more, right? A quarter more, third more, a third more. So if it's 23,000 bushels now with 9, hold on, let me get my calculator out. It will, I'm just hoping everything holds together. So if I got 23,000, oh, that's 32,000. 23, 1, 2, 3, divided by 9 equals 2,500 bushels per 3 bands per band, and we times that by 3 equals, that'll give me another 7,600 plus bushels, 7,600 bushels and change. So you do that, yeah, plus 23, 1, 2, 3. That'll give me right at 30,000 bushels. So that's what I was thinking, that I'd have 30,000 bushels worth of storage. If the crop looks really, really good, if the crop looks really, really good, and all these activities that I'm doing now benefit me to the point where I will be able to build another bin. I will build another bin the same size as the one that I have, and then that'll give me 60,000 bushels worth of storage, and at least then we will be able to muscle our way through the corn crop and only have to get rid of half of what I produce, and then store the other half. So, I mean, that's just what I'm thinking, and I'm not spending millions of dollars, and I'm not going to put up a big expensive leg. I'm just going to run an auger from the top of one to the other, and so that I never have to move the auger. I just add another auger that goes from one bin to the next and go from there. But anyhow, I think I've yammered on long enough, and I'll just cut this off here. And I hope you enjoyed watching this ripper do its thing. If you can see that this is where the corn went down. See how that wave is? Did you see that? Those ears that were just popping up and over, and this wave of dirt. That's what I'm talking about. So that corn literally, I know I was going to shut up. That corn literally hit a wall down deep, maybe 6 to 8 inches. I'd say 8 inches because I plowed that deep with the chisel plow, and they should have went that far. It hit that wall, and that was it. Boom. And they rotted off. They could not get a decent root mass down. They came up. They crawled along that compaction layer, and that's what I ended up with. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, well, I can't help you.